Hello folks. Now the hustle and bustle of A-level exam tuition has quieted down a little bit. I have a little bit more time on my hands, and it's a run of beautiful weather means that I'm out walking, and that gives me time to reflect. One thing that I've been thinking of recently is that when I was at school, I think I was really lucky to have a lineage of English teachers who were brilliant. And I can remember every single one of them. And even now, and I'm, 50, I can remember individual lessons. I can remember moments of individual lessons that were so thrilling, so meaningful, so interesting that I can still remember them vividly today. And these teachers that I was lucky enough to have, and my fellow students were lucky enough to have, they were people that we really looked up to. They embodied the subject that they taught, which was English literature. And they were wise, generous. They had reverence for their subject. They had in-depth knowledge. And they were often, for me anyway, beacons of light in schools that even then often seemed pretty inhospitable, pretty mean, pretty hostile places. And that's one of the reasons why I became an English teacher. And certainly when I became an English teacher, I wanted to follow in their footsteps. I wanted to be part of that lineage. And I have to say, of a 20-year career, I felt that I was in a constant state of retreat against a subject that was becoming ever more formulaic, ever more prescriptive in terms of the way that it was taught, where those higher ideas of text being meaningful, of being introduced into really compelling and new ways of seeing the world, of the beauty of poetry, of the artistry of poetry, of the way in which becoming a student of literature meant, in a sense, that you yourself were developing as a human being. And you saw that in the teachers. You saw them. They were people that, we really looked up to and held with some reverence. And I think I was really lucky to be part of a generation where that still existed, because I see that less and less and less. And I have to say that this was my reason for leaving schools. And my last experience of schools, which was about 2 years ago, and that was having been abroad for a bit, I did a stint in a state school in England. And that was literally standing in front of a class, clicking a button, where the next slide came up on the overhead projector, with entirely prescriptive, nothing to do with me at all, and students just sat there writing detailed notes from the slide. And any attempt on my part to open up to some kind of meaningful conversational discussion was seen as a waste of time and sidetracking from the business of using texts as vehicles for grades. And the whole way the subject was taught was kind of teaching shortcuts, like cheats. This is how you hit the assessment objective. This is how you're going to get a grade 9. If you do this, this is how you're going to improve your score. And that was all that it was about. And for me, the whole meaning, the purpose, the beauty of the subject had been completely stripped away, so that it was just an exercise in using these texts, these extraordinary texts, as hoops to jump through, and to jump through as well as you could in order to get a higher grade. And I'm not surprised in a way. Increasingly, I was watching a video on some social media yesterday with some bloke saying schools are a waste of time, and Shakespeare's a waste of time. Well, he is a waste of time if that's the way that it's taught. Or indeed even, English teachers who are advertising their services as English tutors, slagging off the texts that they are purporting to help students with. I mean, one piece of advice: if you are looking for a red flag in a tutor, well, that must be it. If you've got a tutor who's slagging off the very text that they are proposing to help you with, then run a blooming mile. And this guy was slagging off Wordsworth's The Prelude, the extract that appears in the Power and Conflict poetry, and saying, oh, what a boring load of rubbish it is. I just thought, my God, do you know, what a fool, what an utterly ignorant human being who is an English teacher proposing to help students with their English, who is so ignorant that they would publicly advertise the fact that they see Wordsworth's The Prelude as a boring waste of time. I mean, let me tell you something. That moment in The Prelude when he, as a little boy, rows out in his boat into the middle of the lake is his wild initiation in nature, in the sublimity of nature, into becoming a poet. It is crazy, it is wild, it is immense. And if you can't see that, then do you know what? You should not be teaching English. And, you know, that's what I would say. The English teachers that I had, they had a reverence for the subject. The English teachers that I see now on social media, on TikTok, who are advertising themselves to help students, often they have no reverence at all. They couldn't care less. They even openly slag off the subject that they're helping you with. Avoid them. They're barbarians. And equally, start looking for shortcuts. You know, if the text becomes meaningful to you, if the text becomes beautiful to you, then you will access a grade 9 or an A star. That's how you do it. There is no other way. There should be no other way. That's my advice for today. Bye-bye.